An explosion has rocked downtown Sun Prairie.
Could see flames. You could see a lot of smoke.
There was this big boom, and it knocked me to the ground.
You can see a group of about a dozen people who have been displaced, lost everything that day.
So sorry.
We have learned within the last hour, one of those members died fighting the fire.
That firefighter's name is Corey Barr.
You have never met a more devoted father.
Luckiest girl in the world to have met someone like him.
We will continue to build strength with Corey's legacy in our hearts.
It has been just a great outpouring of support.
We really need the power of the community to help out.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, July 10th. Hattie is going to join us with a look at weather and traffic a little later on in the show. But first, today marks a major anniversary for the city of Sun Prairie.
It has been 1 year since a deadly explosion changed that city forever. A gas leak led to that explosion in the heart of downtown just after 7 p.m. that night, leveling several businesses and displacing nearby residents. 2 firefighters were seriously hurt. Firefighter Ryan Welch and Captain Corey Barr. Barr would later die from his injuries. He wasn't just a firefighter, but also a local business owner and a father. We have live team coverage from Sun Prairie all day today, looking at how the community and the Barr family are doing 1 year later.
A really emotional day for everyone involved in that city. We start with the widow of Corey Barr, Abby, who may have suffered the most since that explosion. Our Keely Arthur spoke with her the day after that tragedy. She joins us now with how she's doing 1 year later. Keely?
Well, good morning. Corey Barr is remembered as the hero in all of this, but his widow, Abby Barr, really has emerged as the true hero with immeasurable strength in the days, months, and now a year after the incident. Well, I'll remember that Corey was one of the many firefighters who had responded to that Sun Prairie gas leak in downtown. He was doubly invested in this call because his restaurant, the Barr House, was at the heart of the leak. It was while he was there checking that explosion when the explosion went off, killing him and injuring a handful of others. In that moment, Abby's life was changed forever, and she, in a lot of ways, says she feels like she's living an entirely separate life compared to the one that she had before July 10th, 2018. And one of the biggest lessons she says she's learned is that there's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to grief. For her, she's found that it's important to be open and open-minded about the process.
I've always been an open communication kind of person. I feel it's important to talk about things. Not everyone feels that way, but it always helps me. And like I said, I've had conversations with Corey from time to time where I'm just sitting here, something's bothering me, and I'll talk it out and feel like he's listening, and I feel better when I'm done.
Abby says she's been so impressed by the Sun Prairie Strong community and feels that while being a part of a tragedy so public has been difficult at times, it's actually given her a lot of support because so many people are aware of what she is dealing with. Abby says her focus has been on their little girls, Aubrey and Haley. She says that she'll be down here at the fire station, which is right behind me, later today to thank all the first responders for their continued support. But obviously, Abby not the only person so impacted by last year's incident. And here with us is Christina Laurie, who's going to share more about how city leaders say the community has grown since then.
Hi, Keely. Abby Barr's resiliency, openness, and strength are really exemplary, and that strength is resounding throughout the Sun Prairie community. Sun Prairie Strong was the rallying cry for this city in the aftermath of that explosion. And now 365 days later, look at how far they've come. This is one of the only buildings left that hasn't been entirely rebuilt. We're joined live this morning by the city's mayor, Paul Esser. So we want to talk about where this community stands right now. This is one of the few buildings that still has to be rebuilt. What do you know about this?
Well, I know that the 2 fellows that own this are planning on renovating this building. They hope to get started on it before the end of the summer. On the first floor, they want some sort of retail commercial, and the upper floors will be residential.
And how does it make you feel as mayor knowing that this is one of the few projects left? You're kind of in the end of this long race you never wanted to participate in.
Well, we have a lot of planning to do on the rest of the intersection, but this is one that has a lot of historical significance. It's Old City Hall. It was built in the late 1800s. Many interesting things have happened in this building over the years, so it's nice, it's important that they're able to maintain it and rehabilitate it.
And just down the street from us is Sal's. I know that was one of the businesses that was closed for a while. It was heavily damaged. What does it mean to have that reopen? And Main Street is bustling again.
So Sal's has brought a lot of vitality to downtown Sun Prairie. It's quite a draw for bringing people in, and it helps the other restaurants that are in this area, and others have opened since Sal's is open. So it's all part of creating a vibe in downtown Sun Prairie.
And its owner has been instrumental in helping champion Sun Prairie, that Sun Prairie Strong rallying cry. Thank you so much for talking to us again. We're going to touch back in with Mayor Paul Esser ahead at 6:30 to talk about what the future looks like for his city that is now on a positive path forward. Josh and Leah.
All right, Christina Laurie and Keely Arthur live for us this morning. Girls, thank you so much.
So the Public Service Commission is currently considering the role several contractors played in that explosion. They have the ability to hand down fines of up to $25,000 per offense. Michigan-based VC Tech was doing contract work for Verizon Wireless, drilling underground for a fiber optics project when it hit the gas line. USIC Locating Services was responsible for marking that line, but records show it wasn't done correctly. VC Tech says another company, Bear Communications, gave them the okay to start digging. Those contractors, along with We Energies, are all part of a wrongful death lawsuit filed by Abby Barr.
With those multiple companies pointing the blame at each other, State Representative Gary Hebel is introducing a new bill seeking to clarify who is responsible for calling the diggers hotline. While USIC was marking the lines, they say VC Tech should have been the one to call the hotline. Hebel says he hopes the legislation clears up any confusion.
In other words, if I go to the contractor has had Diggers Hotline mark the lines, and I rely on the contractor or another subcontractor, that is not enough. I need to have direct contact with Diggers Hotline to make sure that there is no issue with regards to the marking of those lines. And that's what happened in Sun Prairie.
Hebel's bipartisan bill is backed by a number of utility companies, including Charter Communications and Alliant Energy. It is still circulating for co-sponsors and will then be formally introduced.
There will be a remembrance ceremony tonight to reflect on the events of a year ago. It will start at 6 at Fire Station 1, where we'll hear from both the mayor and the fire chief. That will be followed by a walk to the location of the Barr House at 7 and a prayer and moment of silence for Corey Barr. All community members are invited to attend that event. And our Sun Prairie Stronger coverage will continue today here on News 3 Now this morning, throughout the day on News 3 Now, and over on channel3000.com. A very emotional day for everybody in that city.
6:08 is your time right now. There's more local news ahead for us this morning, including what the police chief in Beloit has to say now that marijuana will soon be legal just across the city's border.
But first, Hattie says you might see some fog early today. She has a very, very hot and humid forecast coming up when News 3 Now this morning returns.
Good morning from the Hattie-O patio, where it is downright tropical outside. You can be sweating outside this morning, not even doing anything. Warm front moved through the area late yesterday and brought some showers and thunderstorms with it. You can see the rain amounts estimated by the radar, and there were a few spots that have some heavier precipitation estimated, around an inch, with the stronger storms west of Madison. Those storms really did weaken quite a bit as they tracked eastward, and you see really not a lot of accumulation even east of Dane County. Officially at the airport, about 1/4 of an inch of rain. We get about 1/3 of an inch in our rain gauge here on the west side of town. Now this morning on the radar map, things are pretty quiet. All of the rain is actually well off to the east in lower Michigan this morning. Looking out to the west, though, there still is some rain on the map. With a cold front moving through the area, there's a chance for a few showers or thunderstorms this afternoon, but that chance is pretty small. In fact, the severe weather outlook looks quite a bit different than it did just 12 hours ago. That slight risk area has been shifted north and east to the Green Bay area, and for the rest of southern Wisconsin, it's just a marginal risk, and that is a pretty small risk. If we do see any thunderstorms develop today, most of them will stay below severe limits. Now, the view in Platteville this morning is actually pretty good. There's a little bit of a haze to the atmosphere this morning, but here's what it looks like from our WISC-TV Skycam in Madison. All fogged in this morning here on the west side of town. Visibility is below a mile in many spots. Lone Rock and Monroe have 0 visibility this morning. There has been some improvement, though, in Mineral Point. Good news, you're up to a ½ a mile visibility there. But be aware of that fog this morning, mainly southwest of Madison. Temperatures as you step out the door, if you are lucky enough to have air conditioning, you may be a little surprised when you step out the door this morning. It's still in the 70s in many spots. Dew points have risen as well. We're talking dew points in the 70s, which is downright oppressive in some spots this morning. It's very humid. Heat index today will be creeping into the 90s for a short time this afternoon, so it's going to get pretty hot and humid around here. Here's your future track forecast model. Again, mostly clear skies. Once that fog lifts this morning, you'll see lots of sunshine. Temperatures will warm quickly, already well into the 80s by lunchtime today, topping right around 87 here in Madison. That'll be the peak heating hour of the day between 3 and 4 o'clock. That's when it's going to be most humid. With a cold front moving through, you'll notice a few more clouds late this afternoon into this evening, but the chances for rain are pretty small in any one spot later today. It will turn more comfortable behind that front. 24 hours from now, we'll be back in the 60s with lower humidity. Just a brief break, though. We have the heat and humidity back in the forecast starting on Saturday, and then on Sunday, alert days start in the forecast through all of next week. That heat and humidity is going to stick around for an extended time. Let's get a look at those traffic maps this morning. We'll send it over to Josh Tim for all the details. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. Well, it's a quiet start so far on the Beltline. Really nothing to slow you down heading east or westbound at this point. Other roads here in Dane County not looking too bad. Just some of the usual brake lights on northbound Verona Road and Stoughton Road as you approach the Beltline. No delays downtown around the Capitol Square and on campus. Volume shouldn't be an issue at least for another ½ hour or so. And other main routes coming into the city, they're cruising along at the usual speeds with no major crashes or delays. Your First Alert Traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you very much, Josh, and thank you, Hattie. So road construction along Verona Road is one step closer to finally being done. The Williamsburg Way Bridge is now open, letting crews focus solely on Verona Road underneath. But business owners around there say they'll be happy once the whole thing is done. Bull Polensky owns Roughing It in Style, and ever since construction started on Verona Road about 2 years ago, he says business has been tough. Right now, because of construction, he says they are operating at a loss, relying on their other 2 locations to even stay in business.
I can't really get excited about anything until it's over and done with. And then hopefully, you know, some of our people return and some of our foot traffic picks up. I'm just hoping we can hold out that long.
Now, Polensky says he thinks the city and the county are doing plenty to try and promote businesses along this stretch. He's just waiting out the construction. Now, another new concern of his is more construction down the road at Nesbitt and Fitch-Rona. The city of Fitchburg is converting the 4-way stop there to a roundabout. That project will take right around 3 months.
The American Red Cross is facing a critical shortage in all blood types right now. With less than a 3-day blood supply in Wisconsin, the organization is asking for your help. The Red Cross says they like to have a 5-day shelf supply, but the busy summer schedule has led to a shortfall. They estimate that only about 3 of every 100 eligible donors actually donates blood. To find the nearest blood drive near you, just go to the Red Cross's website.
Recent numbers are suggesting a downward trend in heroin overdoses and in deaths here in Madison. Police say in June of last year, the city had 11 heroin deaths. Last month, that number was 0, and year to date, both heroin-related deaths and overdoses have decreased as well. It's still too early to say if this trend will continue, but because the heroin epidemic at times has seemed almost insurmountable, it's uplifting news for those who deal with it firsthand, people like emergency doctors.
Seeing it rise feels like a rising tide where it's not going to stop. But now we're seeing that through public health efforts and the local resource efforts that you can make a difference, that we can actually treat this.
Police also hope this is a sign that tides are turning. They say a reduced stigma surrounding drug addiction and resources like the Madison Addiction Recovery Initiative have helped.
Law enforcement officials near Wisconsin's border with Illinois say they're getting ready for that state to legalize marijuana, but it's something the Beloit police chief says he is not excited about.
My initial reaction is one of concern because we are in such close proximity to Illinois. It probably will be difficult for people to remember that when they leave the state of Illinois, the marijuana that they're smoking there is illegal in Wisconsin.
It'll officially be legal in Illinois starting January 1st. The Beloit Police Department says they've already trained one officer to spot if someone is driving high. Chief Cebulski says with the laws in Illinois, he expects some of those impacts to make their way to southern Wisconsin.
Happening tomorrow, Democratic presidential candidates will be visiting Milwaukee for a town hall event. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Julian Castro, and Beto O'Rourke are expected to be at that conversation. The League of United Latin American Citizens is hosting that 2-hour-long event. It comes just one day before President Trump is also expected to make an appearance in Milwaukee for a fundraiser.
This Saturday will mark 1 year until the Democratic National Convention in Milwaukee, and preparations are already underway. The city wants to make it so bars and restaurants can stay open later to make the most of all the extra people coming to town. Milwaukee's Common Council is approving a resolution to support a change in state law to extend the closing time of bars of the 4-day convention to 4 a.m. Right now, bars have to close at 2 a.m. on weekdays and 2:30 on weekends.
A major music event is coming to our state to help out Wisconsin's farmers. The annual Farm Aid Festival is coming to Alpine Valley over in Walworth County on Saturday, September 21st. Some pretty big names are on that lineup: Willie Nelson, Neil Young, John Mellencamp, and Dave Matthews, among others. Farm Aid organizers are focusing on Wisconsin this year after we lost nearly 700 dairy farms last year alone. Tickets for that festival go on sale on Friday.
Now, this is a story getting a lot of attention on our Facebook page. We originally reported that 35-year-old Jeannie M. Lyons had received her 39th citation for driving with a revoked license. And the most common question to that was, how is she still on the roads? Well, Chief Deputy Jeff Spencer with the Sauk County Sheriff's Office was the one who pulled Lyons over Friday when she was going over 100 miles per hour on Highway 12. He tells us there's really nothing they can do.
If it stays in the civil side and they don't pay their fines, all they do is suspend their driver's license even longer, and they continue to drive, and there's no incentive for them to get their driver's license back. There's nothing holding them accountable to not drive.
Lyons' license was originally revoked for operating while intoxicated about 12 years ago. Since then, she's racked up a lot of fines for violating other traffic laws, like failing to yield and for not wearing a seatbelt. Lyons has paid off a lot of her fines, but still has a long way to go. The Sauk County District Attorney's Office will determine if criminal charges will be filed against her. But until then, Lyons could still be driving on the roads.
An update now on a story we first brought you out of Iowa County last year. A mother and a daughter are being held on a $250,000 bond for charges of first-degree reckless homicide in the death of a 13-year-old girl. Lori Berry and her daughter Alexis had their initial court appearance yesterday. They're accused of suffocating and beating Selah Caden in Mineral Point back in May of last year. The girl's parents live in North Carolina and made a temporary agreement with the Berries to watch her. Preliminary hearings are scheduled to start in October.
In more local news, the Dane County Sheriff is warning residents of a crew posing as an asphalt paving business. They're operating out of western Dane County. The crew was reported last week. They tried to fraudulently charge residents at a, quote, exorbitant cost for laying low-cost recycled asphalt. The Sheriff's Office says schemes like this are common during the summertime. Groups will usually target elderly residents and can be intimidating. Deputies say if you're approached about these services, turn them down, then try to report their license plates to officials if possible.
All right, 6:21 on this Wednesday. Still ahead on News 3 Now this morning. Wisconsin's MVPs are up for several awards at tonight's ESPYs. We're going to tell you which prizes Christian Yelich and Giannis Antetokounmpo hope to bring home.
But first, this time this week, rain is in the forecast for Hattie. Find out if and when the showers are expected to sweep through the area when News 3 Now this morning returns.
Welcome back. So there's a little bit of good news. We're not quite at don't talk to me weather yet.
I don't know about that.
We are very close. We've all been outside. We've surpassed bad hair day and uncomfortable. We're downright tropical this morning.
I think I'm sitting at don't talk to me this morning.
Oh, stop.
Just
no,
kidding.
He's not.
Just kidding.
Well, if you're at don't talk to me already today, then I'm not even sure what's going to happen this weekend.
Oh, no. Poor Josh.
It is going to get pretty darn humid around here. But today, as you step out the door this morning, it's pretty darn uncomfortable. Let's take a look at visibility. Some of that moisture is turning out in the form of fog. Visibility is at 0 in Monroe. Some improvement now in Mineral Point and Lone Rock. So good news, the fog is starting to lift, but visibility is still less than a mile or in Lone Rock, about 4 miles at the airport here in Madison. We definitely have some fog here, though, on the hill on the west side of town at Channel 3. Take a look at our current temperatures as you step out the door. It's still at 70 degrees in Watertown and Juneau. Madison is 74, Monroe 72, Janesville 73. It's a pretty warm start to the day. Dew points are in the 70s as we were talking about, so it's very muggy this morning. we're not going to see a lot of improvement through the day. Dew points won't drop until much later on. Take a look at your future track heat index. This is at noon, already feeling like it's around 90 degrees. 94 is the feels like temperature in Watertown. Stays pretty uncomfortable through the afternoon hours, but later in the day, a cold front approaches from the north and west. So you'll start to see improvement from northwest to southeast across the area. Now, there's a small chance for a shower or thunderstorm, but more importantly, the humidity levels will drop as we head through the evening hours. We'll be back down to feeling like it's in the 70s by 10 or 11 o'clock. Your extended forecast, though, as I mentioned, many alert days starting on Sunday all the way through next week. The heat and humidity are going to stick around. And that's your first alert forecast.
Athletes are up for an ESPY or two at this year's annual awards ceremony. The Bucks' Giannis Antetokounmpo is up for Best NBA Player and Best Male Athlete. Giannis was just awarded MVP of the NBA at the NBA Awards last month. The Brewers' Christian Yelich also up for 2 ESPYs for Best MLB Player and Best Breakthrough Athlete. Yelich currently leads the league for the most home runs with 31. You can watch the awards show. That's tonight at 5. Hoping that Wisconsin athletes can bring home some hardware.
I hope so. The battle between streaming services is anything but friendly. And after the bombshell news that The Office is leaving Netflix last week, a second blow has been dealt. The beloved 90s sitcom Friends will also be leaving in 2020 for the new HBO Max service. Friends will be joined by other Warner Media properties from Adult Swim, Cartoon Network, and the CW. And of course, HBO.
I am determined to find the silver lining in this. Maybe this means we'll waste less time binging on Netflix.
Yeah, I don't think so.
More time outside?
I'll probably be following Friends because that's like my go-to show all the time.
Josh is devastated.
I'm like Monica, so.
I'm gonna get you outside instead. That's what's gonna happen.
6:28 right now, still ahead for us this morning. We continue our coverage on the 1-year anniversary of the Sun Prairie explosion.
After the break, we will hear from Abby Barr about how her family is doing 1 year after the death of her husband. Stay with us.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now This Morning.
Good morning and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, July 10th. Hattie will join us in just a bit with a look at our weather and traffic for the day. But first, we are continuing our Sun Prairie Stronger series this morning.
Today marks 1 year since that explosion changed Sun Prairie forever. A gas leak led to an explosion in the heart of downtown around 7 p.m. that night, leveling several businesses, killing one firefighter and seriously injuring another. The firefighter that died, Corey Barr, was a captain at the Sun Prairie Fire Department, a business owner, and a father. Dozens of other people were displaced from their homes as authorities evacuated everyone within a mile of that blast. Now, it has been a long year of recovery for both the city and the Barr family.
We have team coverage this morning as we look at how Sun Prairie has become stronger. Keely Arthur and Christina Laurie are both live from that city this morning. We start with Christina and how the city has rebuilt since that explosion. Christina?
Good morning, Leah and Josh. We've been talking this morning, reflecting on what the past year has been like, but now it's time to look forward. What's next for the city of Sun Prairie? We're rejoined this morning by Mayor Paul Esser. So now is the positive part of the show where we can talk about people. What's next for your city?
We're standing at this moment at the intersection of Main and Bristol Street in downtown Sun Prairie. This is the site of the explosion a year ago. And we are planning for what comes next on these properties that were demolished as the result of that. So the city has engaged a planner, Lakota Group out of Chicago, Illinois, and they're going to work with the people that own this property. All this property is privately owned, so the city can't dictate what happens here, but the city can be influential and can be helpful with finances. So that's what's going to happen as the result of the planner. We expect to get the results of their efforts in October and November. We've got some community meetings coming up, one July 25th. People from the community can come in and talk to the planners, tell them what they think ought to go here. And the planners are talking with the property owners and developers, coming up with ideas for this property.
Whatever businesses go on these plots of land, what do you hope as mayor they bring back to your community?
Well, there's a lot of interest in downtown Sun Prairie as an entertainment source. We're getting a lot of restaurants with entertainment in them. I think similar things coming in here would be appropriate. Some retail services that would meet the population in this area. I think those are all good pieces, and then residential probably above those. There's the need for more housing in downtown Sun Prairie.
That's a good thing. It certainly is needed here. Sun Prairie, the second fastest growing city in the entire state of Wisconsin. Thank you, as a busy mayor, for taking the time to talk with us this morning.
You're welcome.
And Mayor Esser, he knew firsthand just how much this community has been through, but another person who knows how difficult this past year has been is Abby Barr. And for that part of the story, we're going to toss it over to Keely Arthur.
Hi, Christina. That's right. Abby told me, she says that she's feeling like she almost is living two separate lives. The one before July 10th of 2018, and then the one after, of course, the explosion, which killed her husband, Captain Corey Barr. Now, obviously, a lot of events taking place today to honor Corey, and I want to show you really quick. This is the Sun Prairie Fire Station behind me, and there was a memorial erected. We'll show you that in just a second. Corey Barr was one of the firefighters who had responded to reports of a natural gas leak. And since we came back to camera, I want to show you this. We just got this up from the fire department. They have erected kind of a ladder. They had some lights going on earlier in remembrance of Corey. And we spoke to his wife, Abby, who talked about how the community has been so strong and so supportive during all of this.
Every little piece of support has been helpful, whether it's just someone saying, you know what, I'm praying for you, or, you know, it's someone going and doing something big in his honor, and everything in between. Without support from family and friends and community, you know, I don't think I would have made it through.
Abby says this is her biggest lifeline in all of this, is that support. And of course, her daughters, Aubrey and Haley, she says anytime she falls apart, she just refocuses on those girls. She says being a good mother to Corey's daughters is her biggest goal so far.
All right, Keely Arthur and Christina Laurie live for us this morning. Ladies, thank you so much.
Now, the Sunshine Place is hoping its new campaign will raise money and increase services to the city of Sun Prairie. The organization is hoping their hashtag Acts of Kindness SP campaign will raise $1.3 million. The Sunshine Place was a major part of the recovery process after the explosion.
Their Acts of Kindness campaign has 3 goals: triple the amount of parking for their food pantry, expand space for mobile food pantries, and fresh produce for their child and senior programs. They also want to increase accessibility through safer conditions for volunteers, clients, and neighbors. The campaign has already raised over $620,000. If you'd like to donate, that link is on channel3000.com. All right, coming up, 4 Brewers participated in the MLB All-Star Game last night.
How they fared against the best of the best. That's when News 3 Now This Morning returns. All right, so we always ask you to share your morning with us, and Kevin shared this beautiful shot out in Argyle. It's got me in the camping mood, Josh.
That is a beautiful picture there. The colors, you got the little water there, the trees, just everything.
It is a forecast to get out and enjoy some water, find a lake. So thanks so much for sharing and giving us that idea, Kevin.
If you've got a photo like Kevin's you'd like to share with us of your morning, all you have to do is go to the Channel 3000 social media pages and use the hashtag MyNews3Morning.
All right, the American League is officially the winner of this year's All-Star Game, which might not come as a surprise since they've won the last 6 All-Star competitions as well.
Yeah, Yasmani Grandal, Mike Moustakas, Brandon Woodruff, and Christian Yelich were all available for the National League in Cleveland yesterday. Yelich led off the game against the Justin Verlander and hit it hard. but it's a line out to first.
Yep, the American League wins 4-3. Cleveland pitcher Shane Bieber was named the game's MVP. For our Brewers, Yelich went 0 for 2 and Grandal went 0 for 1 with a walk. Brandon Woodruff gave up a run in 2/3 of an inning.
Good to see some Wisconsin people playing it up big over there.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, it is time to crank up your AC because Mother Nature, she's cranking up the heat this week. Hattie's got a look at the forecast for the week ahead with a handful of alert days because of that heat wave.
All right, stay with us. This is News 3 Now this morning.
Believe it or not, that is a live look outside this morning where you can see absolutely nothing.
I feel like we need some creepy music.
Oh my goodness, it's the wrong time of year, I feel like. It's not October.
What is this? But it's thick out there, like uncomfortable.
Thick,
like,
right, Hattie?
do not talk to me kind of weather.
Do not talk to me weather.
Well, I'm starting to wonder if the camera lens is just fogged up because it is so humid outside. Here behind me, this is the view in Platteville. Some of the fog south and west of Madison has started to lift, but there is quite a bit of moisture in the atmosphere. Speaking of moisture, we had some rain last night, about 1/4 of an inch at the airport in Madison, 3/10 here at the station on the west side of town, but there were some heavier pockets of rain. Had a report from one of our viewers in Monroe. He had 1.8 inches in his rain gauge from the rain last night. You can see that there were a couple spots with some heavier rain totals. As those showers and thunderstorms tracked eastward, though, they did weaken quite a bit. And now here's the picture this morning. Just some light shower and isolated thunderstorm activity moving out over Michigan. Things are pretty quiet for the Badger State and expected to remain mainly dry through the rest of the day. There is an outside chance that you'll see a shower or thunderstorm, but that severe weather threat is moving to the south and east. You can see the Storm Prediction Center now just having a marginal risk for severe storms here in southern Wisconsin, and that does not look likely. Most of the area will likely stay dry. Here's a look at the probability of precipitation. Could see a few showers or even an isolated thunderstorm this afternoon, but that rain chance really falls apart this evening. Here's a look for your concerts on the square forecast. That forecast, good news, lower rain chances this evening. It's still going to be very warm and especially humid as the concerts start. Once a cold front moves through, that humidity level will start to drop, and it may be a little bit breezy at times with a northwesterly wind kicking up a bit during the evening hours. But overall, pretty nice forecast for this evening. Live look in Platteville, as I mentioned, just a little bit of haze in the atmosphere, but here is the view from the WISC-TV Skycam. You don't have any view this morning. Visibility has been an issue south and west of Madison. Good improvement in Mineral Point, still at a quarter of a mile in Lone Rock, and Monroe is still looking at pretty thick fog this morning. By the time we get to 8 o'clock, the sun will be high enough in the sky that we should see any fog dissipate. Our temperatures this morning are in the 70s. As you step out the door, 74 in Madison, 73 in Mineral Point this morning. Prairie du Chien checks in with 72 degrees, as does Platteville. It's a very warm start to the day and a muggy one as well. Dew points have risen into the 70s for most of southern Wisconsin. Your future track forecast model with southwesterly winds this morning calls for a pretty rapid warm up. We will see temperatures already well into the 80s by lunchtime today. And then as we head towards the afternoon, winds shift around to the west and eventually northwest. May notice a bit of cloud cover with that front moving through. Chances for rain, though, are pretty limited here across southern Wisconsin. We're looking at much more comfortable conditions than settling in. By this time tomorrow morning, temperatures will be back in the 60s. Here's a look at your extended forecast. We have many alert days in the forecast starting on Sunday for the high heat and humidity. We're talking daytime highs in the 90s with heat index values getting up close to 100 on each of those days. Here's a look at our pet walk forecast. Rudy says, did you say 100?
Yeah.
Look at that
got the little head
tilt.
cocked, like,
Oh, honey.
It kind of looks like an owl a little bit, and the head moves so
funny.
much.
He needs a sprinkler.
Yes, he does.
I think so. 87 later on this afternoon.
Get it, Rudy. All right, Hattie, thank you.
You're welcome.
Stay with us. The morning sprint is up next.
But first, it is Wednesday, July 10th, and we want to say happy 3rd birthday to Kenzie and all the other kiddos having a birthday today. Thanks for watching News 3 Now this morning. We'll be right back.
It's 6:51, time for the morning sprint as we get you caught up on all the local news you need to start your Wednesday.
We begin this morning by remembering what happened in Sun Prairie 1 year ago today and how the community has recovered. A gas leak led to an explosion in the heart of downtown around 7 p.m. that night, leveling several businesses, killing one firefighter and seriously injuring another. The firefighter that died, Corey Barr, was a captain in the Sun Prairie Fire Department, a business owner, and a father. Dozens of other people were displaced from their homes as authorities evacuated everyone within a mile of that blast.
Look at how far this Sun Prairie community has come in just the past year. Earlier in the show, we spoke with Mayor Paul Esser about what the rebuilding process has been like. Most businesses here along Main Street that were heavily damaged by the explosion have reopened, like Salvatore's, but others, like this historic building just across the street from where the bar house once stood, still has its windows boarded up. Mayor Esser says its owners plan to reopen later this year. As for the bar house, that is completely gone. In its place, green grass grows, but a redevelopment project is in the works. A planning committee will meet again later this month to talk about what's next for this intersection.
The events to honor Captain Corey Barr have already started today. You can see behind me the fire department erecting this huge ladder and a flag to honor Captain Corey, who lost his life in the explosion. Of course, his widow, Abby Barr, says she finds strength in these little gestures, also finding strength in raising her 2 little girls. She says one of the biggest lessons she's learned is that there is no one-size-fits-all when it comes to grief. And for her, she's found it's important to be open-minded about the process. You can hear more from her and her journey in the past year tonight at 10.
Thank you very much, Keely. With those multiple companies pointing the blame at each other, State Representative Gary Hebels is introducing a new bill to clarify who is responsible for calling the Diggers Hotline. While USIC was marking the lines, they say VC Tech should have been the one to call. Hebels says he hopes the legislation will clear up any confusion.
And we're starting with a little bit of fog south and west of Madison this morning with visibility less than a mile in a couple of spots. Sunshine, though, through the day should take care of that fog pretty quickly. It's already a warm and muggy start to the day. Heat index values will be climbing into the low 90s for a couple of hours this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Hattie. Breaking into the Channel 3000 Alert Center this morning, an Ohio man says he is guilty of committing bank wire fraud in 4 states, including Wisconsin. Victims of Anthony McQuaid's have lost more than $4.6 million between November of 2014 and June of 2018. McQuaid faces up to 30 years in a federal prison. His sentencing is scheduled for November.
Happening tomorrow, Democratic presidential candidates will be visiting Milwaukee for a town hall event. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Julian Castro, and Beto O'Rourke are expected to be at that conversation. The League of United Latin American Citizens is hosting the 2-hour-long event.
A major music festival is coming to Wisconsin to help out family farmers. The annual Farm Aid Festival is coming to Alpine Valley in Walworth County on Saturday, September 21st. Headliners include Willie Nelson, Neil Young, John Mellencamp, and Dave Matthews. Farm Aid organizers are focusing on Wisconsin this year after it lost nearly 700 dairy farms last year.
The American Red Cross is facing a critical shortage in all blood types. With less than a 3-day blood supply in Wisconsin, the organization is asking for your help. The Red Cross says they feel like they like to have a 5-day shelf supply, but the busy summer schedule has led to a shortfall. They estimate that only about 3 of every 100 eligible donors actually donates blood.
Recent numbers are suggesting a downward trend in heroin overdoses and deaths here in Madison. Police say in June of last year, the city counted 11 heroin deaths. Last month, that number was 0. And year-to-date, heroin-related deaths and overdoses have both decreased.
Law enforcement officials near our state's border with Illinois say they're getting ready for Illinois to legalize marijuana. It'll officially be legal in Illinois starting January 1st. The Beloit Police Department says they've already trained 1 officer to spot if someone is driving high.
A mother and daughter in Iowa County are being held on a $250,000 bond this morning for charges of first-degree reckless homicide in the death of a 13-year-old girl. Lori Berry and her daughter Alexis are accused of suffocating and beating Sayla Caden in Mineral Point last May. The girl's parents had made a temporary agreement with the Berrys to watch her. Preliminary hearings are scheduled to start in October.
GDM Lyons has received her 39th citation for driving with a revoked license from the Sauk County Sheriff's Office. Lyons' license was originally revoked for operating while intoxicated 12 years ago. The Sauk County District Attorney's Office will determine if criminal charges will be filed against her, but until then, lines could still be driving on those roads.
Road construction along Verona Road is one step closer to being done. The Williamsburg Way Bridge is now open, letting crews focus solely on Verona Road underneath. But business owners around there say they are operating at a loss right now and are hoping things turn around when the whole project wraps up.
6:56 right now. Let's turn it over to Josh Tim with a look at your first alert traffic. Hi, Josh.
Yeah, good morning. Still moving all right on the Beltline, although expect some brake lights any minute now heading westbound near the lane shifts from the interstate until Monona Drive. Inbound John Nolan, not looking too bad right now. Just a few brake lights starting to show up near Olin Avenue and then again at North Shore Drive. And Park Street tapping the brakes at Olin Avenue heading toward campus, but other main routes are moving at the usual speeds right now with no major issues. With your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thanks, Josh.
And here's a live look outside from the Queenie Radio Skycam in Platteville. What a beautiful start to this Wednesday. It's pretty humid outside though already. Dew points in the 70s, temperatures climbing into the upper 80s later on this afternoon. Very small chance for a shower or a thunderstorm. Most areas look like they're going to stay dry today.
All right, Hattie, thank you.
And thanks so much for joining us here on News 3 Now this morning. Stay tuned for the rest of the day here on News 3 Now for the latest in our Sun Prairie series. Have a great day.